Welcome to Invest. We talk about investing, finance, and professional development. So current time of exactly 10:30 a.m. on the Eastern time on the second day of 2023. Hope you guys had a great year so far, and also happy Monday. And hope you guys also had a great weekend. Ethereum dropped $1,217, up about 1.50% so far. On the over crypto market, you can see on across the spectrum. Let me just like shift my head a little bit. You can see that on the left side of the chart, you can see clearly we are green across the board. But what's really driving the upward pressure is, I would say, is not really made, due to anything specific, but it's just that we have been oscillating on a sideways fashion. And I guess technically today is the technical first trading day, knowing the fact that, yesterday was Sunday and Monday, that's when the international side of the ecosystem will be a little bit more active than the weekend, which we were still digesting from the celebratory spirits that we had for Jan 1st, right? And before we dive into technical, let's just take a look at the news front. And I think I should shrink my head or move my head somewhere to avoid blocking you guys. So take a look at one of interesting article that came out with respect to the Bitcoin call for 2023. It seems like there is a pretty large spectrum of different predictions: 14,000% rally or 70% plunge. I think 70% plunge is something that we have been baking in so far. If you really look into the Bitcoin price, it was at a $65,000 at one point at the all-time high, and ever since that would plunge through, obviously, as you know, we are currently trading around the level that we at right now. It's been down about 60%, right? But take a look at some of the interesting predictions across the spectrum. So one is Tim Draper, $25,000 by year end 2022. I don't understand much about the technical analysis on where he's arriving this at. I think this is just more of a speculative call that he had. And also Tim is like a well-known figure in the ecosystem, in the venture space, with his daughter as well, Jessie Draper. 25,000 is more of like a media affectation, try to influence the market, without any substantive evidentiary research or support to get us there. So it's more just I could understand the halving, that we are expected to have in 2024 can propel us, but $250,000, that's that's a huge pump. That's 2,500% upward from here. And then the next one is from Standard Chartered, a bank from overseas, $5,000. I think this is a little bit more of a harsher tone. That means like plunging another 70% from the current price. But what specific time frame, and also how do we get there in a chronological perspective? The technical ultimately has to oscillate in a manner that makes sense. So we will dive into that as well on a technical front to see which one actually matches with the most, in terms of logics. And then Mark Mobius, $10,000. I think that's where we are pretty much at right now. We are off by about like $2,000, $1,000 here and there. And then Carl Alexander, $50,000, which we basically have came down quite significantly ever since. So it seems like all of these are speculative call, and I think one more would be Kathy Wood, which she mentioned somewhere around like $125,000 by sometimes in 2022 to 2023. So why spectrum across the board, right? So let's do one for ourselves. Like what makes sense the most, right? Let's just like maybe shift gears back into technical analysis. So currently Bitcoin is at 16,700, right? And the reason that we are green today, I guess, partially is because of the technical call out of predictions that we saw from the CNBC breakdown. But beside that news, like there isn't anything specific that we need to really, mention so far. Obviously, today is still a technical holiday, but beside that, that's like the one news that we should really focus on. So we understand that Bitcoin is at $16,700 right now. And in terms of which side of the spectrum are we? Are we bullish or are we bearish? We've been kind of flat for quite some time, right? On a daily, we are looking like we are about to run up, which makes sense. You could see that we are kind of crossed down and then we're looking to cross up. We are bounced from 42 out of 70. So the next level up is going to be somewhere around where, so on a weekly, take a look at this real quick. So weekly, we are still technically forming this descending trend, like first staircase, second staircase, third staircase. But on a weekly, you can see that we are still forming a relatively sizable separation. We are at 35 out of 70, so we are relatively bearish. But what we really need to do to align us all to be bullish is to kind of cross down first, right? So technically, that means that we need to come down to a lower level, like 15,000 to 12,500 to even 10,000. But which level makes the most sense for us to come down, right? If you really look into it. So we are currently at the same level that we were before, sometimes in 2 years ago, around November. The next level down is going to be around somewhere in the 13, exactly like 12,500, which makes sense. And then the next level down is going to be somewhere around, before we go down all the way to the 4-digit mark, would be 11,500, and then subsequent to that will be 9,500. So where we are going right now, I think because of the fact that we are at a relatively good support level, but the next level of real substantive support level is going to be somewhere around 12,500. So 50,000 is definitely out of the question. Tim Draper's call of 250,000 is out of the question. I think $10,000 from Mark Mobius seems to be the most logical in the near term, because of the fact that we are in need of kind of cross down before we cross up. So seems like many of the callouts are quite off. Like Tim Draper's out, right, based on the call out. I think Standard Chartered, the 5,000 call, it's that's pretty depressing. I think that's breaking through several different support, and I think the real support level is going to be somewhere around now if we were really going to come down to a lower level, would be like, I think the lowest we could get would be 8,000. 5,000 is a little harsh based on a current technical level. And then Mark Mobius 10,000, I think is the closest one that we actually have. 50,000 by Carl Alexander, that completely off. So I'm not saying I'm predicting, but I'm just saying based on a technical analysis, how the trend can organically, percolate going forward. I think Mark Mobius has the most, I think, accuracy in terms of how we're performing. But it's still off by a couple $1,000 here and there. So we'll see how that goes. And what we really need to do ultimately is basically allow the whole chart to be aligned on the daily front. So the daily front is quite fused together. So it just needs to kind of oscillate and get on the right side of the spectrum. So it seems like on the near term, it is showing some bullish signal. The weekly, needs to kind of cross down. But the monthly, it is indicating that we are in the need of a rebound. So the rebound will be, I think the timing for it will be sometimes around, based on the current technical level, right? We are in a transitional period, still looking to kind of glide down a little bit more, and then plateau as we get more elongated, and then reverse up from here. So I think based on the current technical level, I think sometimes around, just based on the landing path that we have here, sometimes now June, July, August, which technically translate into transitional period from Q2 to Q3, can be in logical prediction. But ultimately, we the sell-off that we have had so far is due to a big fallout on the corporate side, right? FTX was backed by a lot of institutional investors due to lack of due diligence, and it was like a herd-like mentality of just chasing the valuation upward. And next thing you know, once it blows up because of the scam and Ponzi scheme affectation, it blew up a lot of money across the spectrum, and that's how billions of dollars was lost due to that specific cause. So to regain the trust from the corporate side, we need to work with the corporate side to regain their trust, but also the regulatory front needs to reinforce that effort as well. So to work on those type of spectrum is gonna in need of patience and time and board approval, obviously, and that's gonna take even longer time. So unless there's some specific catalyst that will propel us in the near term on the macro perspective, I don't foresee that much major movement for this year, which can be very logical, right? Once you lose someone's trust, it's very hard to regain the trust. So that's something we have to kind of think about, right? Maybe we are going to be, kind of suppressed for most of this year, but as we are shifting on to the halving time period of 2024, which is technically still a year from now, a year and a half from now, and also regaining the trust on the regulatory and institutional front, it matches with the technical, but that kind of discounted all of this call outs that we have here from 250,000, which I think that probability of getting there would be very low. I'll give this maybe 1% likelihood that we'll get there. Standard Charter $5,000 call out for this year. I just don't see how we could get there. It breaks so many fundamental levels, and that's plunging another 70%. Unless we hear more black swan news, like let's say Binance is also a scam, that can be possible. Mark Mobius, $10,000. I think out of all of them, this is the most logical. And Carl Alexander, $50,000. That's basically back to where we were before, unless we really regain the confidence from institutional buying activity again. That's gonna be difficult. So it seems like most of the call outs and predictions are, not the most aligned in terms of the technical analysis that we perform. But I do foresee some turnaround coming in this, later half of this year, based on just how the technical is trending. And just take a look at Ethereum, it will be on par. So with respect to the same level of spectrum that Bitcoin will be trading at, Ethereum will be kind of correlate going forward. So monthly, it is looking to kind of glide and land. Weekly, it is in need of a cross down. So we are trading very similarly. Daily, it is crossed up, so that's why we're triangulating into this golden cross that we're forming, but we are clearly getting rejected from the 1250 level. We're below it. So what we need to do is basically cross back down, which to basically fulfill this weekly chart and then cross up, right? So the timing will take time because this is more of a weekly perspective and we're quite elongated. So our technical analysis that we've been talking about on a day-to-day basis still holds. No major changes. So that's something we understand. And I think the technical level in the near term will be 1050 would be the technical bottom that we need to get to. So that means we still have some room to come down from, but not a significant amount, obviously, not 70%, not a 50% write-off, but I think 10 to 15% would not be a surprise, but it's going to take time, especially as we're getting closer and closer to the tax season, and obviously the FOMC meeting, CPI report, the COVID situation, and seems like the Omicron variants also percolating on the macro front as well. So that's it really. It's a little bit longer than usual for this video today. But I think the technical has to make sense for us to get to a certain level. We cannot just like get there without some sort of a logic behind it. And hopefully this is helpful. I know it's a little bit longer than usual, but I appreciate you for catching up on this Monday morning. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.